What up, nerds? My name is Leslie Smith. Welcome to the Nerdy Narrative, a channel where I love to talk to you about all of the things that I read. Today is going to be a review of a book that I read recently called The EXORCIST'S HOUSE by Nick Roberts. This book was published by Crystal Lake Publishing. It came out on May the 6th, 2022, and it is available on Kindle Unlimited if you are a subscriber to that service. I did request and receive the advanced reader's copy from Crystal Lake Publishing, of which I am so grateful because I loved the premise. I had not ever read Nick Roberts before, but I am now a fan. I don't know that he has other full-length novels like this one. I do believe he's previously published some shorter fiction and a few collections that I'm going to look into getting my hands on. Oh, it was so good. It was so good. I did see a recent tweet from him on Twitter where he mentioned Paul Tremblay's House Full of Ghosts, I believe is the title, or maybe it was A Head Full of Ghosts. It was something full of ghosts that was an inspiration for him, an influence for The Exorcist's House. So I'm definitely going to have to read that one and compare the two. And I think once I read that one, I think I might try to get Nick to come on the channel and do one of the Why My Story Matters videos. So if you guys want to see that, let me know in the comments down below. But let's talk about The Exorcist's House. What is it about? The time period is the mid-90s, 94, 95. The setting, West Virginia. Well, it will be. The Hill family is relocating, which is a favorite trope of mine. I love that fresh start, new beginning trope where the family or the person uproots their life and moves somewhere else to start over. I don't know why I love that, but especially in horror, that's one of my favorite things. A second favorite thing is a haunted house, or in this case, farmhouse. Of course, the family doesn't know that going in. There is a strange thing they notice in the kitchen. There's a door that has been nailed shut. Well, what happens? Their curiosity is awoken. And it leads to them breaking into the basement, where they then find a hidden room with a boarded up well covered in crucifixes with rosaries hanging all around it. So this leads to the family digging into the history of the farmhouse. All of these things were mentioned in the premise that I read, which hooked me. I really honestly thought to myself, there was no way that I was not going to love this book. I wasn't disappointed. In fact, Nick Roberts exceeded my expectations with this book. All of these tropes are familiar tropes. I have read so many of them. I will continue to read them over and over. I love haunted houses. I love exorcism stories. Actually, anything dealing with religious horror I'm a huge fan of, but exorcisms for some reason I've always been fascinated with. I like that the entire family was involved. One of the things that I look for in a horror novel that I know is going to make a good one is when the author gives me a preview in the beginning with either chapter 1 or a prologue. And Nick Roberts did that, and it was amazing. The prologue gave me a little taste of what to expect. There were definitely some unique original twists to it that I wasn't expecting, that really just made it a standout story. Like, this is not one I'm going to forget. This one's not going to just get tossed into a group of exorcism stories, haunted house stories. This is definitely going to be a standout that I remember by title, by author, because the story was that good and that memorable. And even though I know what happened start to finish, it's one that I will reread because there are layers there to the characters that I know I missed out on some because I was so excited to see what was going to be on the next page. Now, when you read a horror story, there's definitely a scale on level of fear, terror, dread, suspense, all of that, and it is definitely higher up on the scare scale. There were some moments of absolute terror that this book invoked in me. One night that I was reading it at night, which was a colossal mistake, but I don't hear that well, but my dogs were both sleeping in my lap and they heard something. And they didn't run off barking at it like they do sometimes when they hear something. They both, it's like they heard something, but they couldn't identify what it was, but they were trying to figure it out. Like, they both just sat up and listened really hard. Like, they just sat up silently. Their ears were alert, and Bandit just started growling really softly, and I was like, I never heard anything. And after about 10 minutes, they sat back down, and then they got back up a little bit later, and I'm like, okay, this is creepy. I'm gonna put this book down and go to bed. Well, my husband was in our room watching TV, and so I came in there, and the dogs came with me, and they're just sitting on the edge of the bed, just sitting there kind of looking. And I said, they've been acting really strange about the last half hour. I said, they're hearing something that I'm not hearing. And he goes, oh, it must have been what I was hearing. He said, I kept hearing this clicking noise, like there was somebody trying to put a key in the front door. And he was sitting there looking at the cameras on the phone, like checking the front door. Neither one of us slept good that night. You know, and while that scares the stuffing out of me, I live for that stuff. That kind of fear is addicting. What is that? Why do we love to be scared like that? You know, maybe at the time, if you asked me, I wouldn't have the same answer because I was really scared when he was like, yeah, it sounded like somebody was trying to put a key in the front door. Of course, there was nobody there. Just things when they happen like that, when I'm reading a scary book, it just adds to the memorable occasion of it. The last 20% of this book, I mean, my heart speeds up thinking about it because my heart was racing the entire time. Like when I got finished with it, I almost like just wanted to pant with exertion from reading what all was happening. And it was so much, which is another reason why I want to reread it. There were so many different things happening, so many elements. And of course, the way it ended is what I wanted it to end like. And it's not that I predicted it. It's just that that's what I wanted to happen, and it did. And I just, it was so good. I absolutely loved this book. It is the scariest book I have read so far in 2022. So that is going to do it for this review today. Have you read this book? I know some of you saw my written review and picked it up. Are you going to read this book? Do you think this might be one you would enjoy? I liked it. I thought you would like it too, especially if you are a lover of horror like I am. If you do decide to read it and you want to chat with me about it, links to all of my socials are down in the description box below. Guys, if you'd enjoyed this video today, don't forget to hit that like button. If you like reviews like this, as well as fantasy, science fiction, and other genres, hit that subscribe button. And if you want Nick Roberts to come do a Why My Story Matters video, don't forget to let me know in the comments down below. Friends, thank you so much for being here today. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and I will catch you in the next one.